Safaricom has released full year earnings. We are delighted to sit down with the CFO, Dilip. Always a delight to sit down with you, man.
Thank you very much and glad to have you here.
Congratulations on the license. By that I mean for the financial services in Ethiopia, mobile financial services I should clarify. And let's just start from that point. Very good move there. I'm just curious, when you look at the fact that Telebir has a 2-year head start, and technically, if I could say, they're really joined at the hip with the government, how do you intend to posture M-Pesa in that market?
Very good question. I think the way to look at it is one positive part of Telebir coming before us is that we don't need to talk about mobile financial services. People, the customers are already aware, people are already aware of what it can do. And from the numbers, as you can see, that they managed to really significantly ramp up the customer numbers in 2 years' time. So first of all, that is a good thing for any new entrant coming in, that you don't need to educate what this service is all about. Now, the other way to look at it is, yes, they do have a 2-year head start, and they have, because being a government company, maybe they do have certain privileges. But we bring in a 15 years of Kenya experience. This is the most innovative product that this continent has ever produced, and we bring in a lot of expertise and specialists who have done this and who would now be implementing in Ethiopia. Having taken into consideration that Ethiopia market is different than Kenya, so what worked in Kenya is not necessarily, it means that it will work in Ethiopia. We are conscious about that, and that's why saying that end of the day, even if products are same, and what makes it different is how you're reaching to the customers. So your distribution network, agent network. You remember the success of M-Pesa here is that we had a huge 260,000 agents doing that work. So we have been focusing on that, making sure that the customer experience, in terms of the availability and also their usage, is the best in the industry. So we'll be focusing more on those. Anybody can do anything there, but at the end of the day, the way we're trying to make sure that connectivity combined with mobile financial services become the sticky point. We already have a head start from a mobile data point of view. Our network is considered as the most reliable, and it is the best network in this country in terms of the speed. It's an empty network still, but that's what we are seeing a lot of tractions. I think we are building already a bit of a loyalty, a bit of reputation, being a most reliable mobile data network. With that, I think we will be able to go to the customers and do that. So market is huge, 115 million population. Yes, Ethiotel has a head start, but I think there is a huge market to be explored. So very, very excited about the license, and most importantly for us is to see that how quickly we can launch. So to that, from the infrastructure, from technology side, we have been preparing ourselves. We are ready. Distribution side, we have finalized who will all be our distributor agents network, and then also from the banking side. So this work was already going on. I think we should be able to launch pretty quickly. Peter mentioned during the update this morning is that we're looking at a Q2 as a launch date. So it's very, very exciting part of the Ethiopia's journey into digitizing the financial services in that country.
Fantastic. And if I got you right, the licensing cost $150 million. By my math, does that imply Safaricom paid about $83 million of that amount?
Yeah, 55.7% of $150 million is what Safaricom Kenya has paid.
All right. Dilip, I was coming through the numbers and looking at the debt position, and I noticed that in the latest filings, there is a bit of concentration now on the short-term debt as opposed to the previous case where we've been having more on the long-term than the short-term. Could you please give us some flavor around that?
Yeah, so short-term debt is necessarily the working capital gap that you try to meet through, right? So if I remember the numbers correctly, we have at the group level, we had about 23 billion increase in the short-term borrowings, out of which 15 billion was for Kenya. So this is not something that we have a limit much higher. So depending on the season of capex spend. So sometimes there is a peak. So this is how the numbers look like. We think the numbers are quite reasonable. If you look at from an overall debt side also, a net debt to EBITDA of 0.35 is very, very reasonable. In fact, it would be one of the lowest in the telcos that we have, the 0.35 as. But I think the focus has always been that the debt that we need to roll over for longer time is very focused on the long-term debt, which is what we have done when we bid for Ethiopia license, where we have to borrow about $400 million equivalent of loan. But that's long-term loan, and that's, you see that that's declining as you started repaying already. But short-term debt is just to take care of the working capital needs. Yeah.
All right. You did mention during the briefing that you're in the final stages of conversations with the International Finance Corporation. In November last year, I sat down with Makhtar Diop. He hinted the same thing at the time. And so what's the progress between then and now? And more importantly, what sort of architecture are we looking at? You've mentioned it's a bit of blended finance, debt and equity. Is this reflective of concerns by Safaricom around dilution?
No, first of all, IFC has always expressed their interest to come in as an equity partner and also funding our debt requirement. So that has always been there even before we had the license, the GSM license in Ethiopia. So it's nothing new that has come up. So they had the intention, but the discussions took longer. Also in the context, if you recall, there was this the Tigray crisis that time came in. So everything paused. Yeah, everything paused. So including discussion with IFC, but then it took momentum. Actually, beginning of last quarter, the third quarter of last financial year by December, it kind of more intensity of the discussion and the conclusion. So yes, it was final stage probably for some time, but I could say that probably this is now the final stage where we are, because from their side they have gone through their investment committee approval, they have gone through their board approval, but now we have to do our part to make sure that few issues are sorted out. But we are still hopeful. But a deal is never done till it is signed off. But we are quite hopeful.
And the second part of the question around dilution.
On the dilution, so what I did mention about IFC coming in, all the consortium members, they will dilute, yeah, in terms of our equity investment, but we will still continue to hold the majority shareholding. Yeah. Now, on the debt side, they are coming in, and then they're just our capital structure framework, where we need to make sure that we have more debts coming in. So far, it has been in equity. So they coming in actually, yes, they do dilute, but it doesn't dilute to a point that we lose our majority. We still hold the majority. We'll still be ability to consolidate Ethiopia financials in our group financial. So it's not a concern as far as dilution is.
All right.
Yeah.
Dilip, could you please comment on the quality of the earnings for Safaricom over time? And I'm asking that because, I mean, granted, we've seen a bit of decline in the profitability and also a bit of concentration coming in from the mobile money side and M-Pesa taking a larger piece of the pie. Is this a point of concern for you?
I think last financial has been very unique and it's been very tough given the macroeconomic challenges. You have seen the inflation level. So we are not insulated from the global macro challenges, and including the currency depreciation. So from that point of view, and also the fact that the MTR, the mobile termination rate change last year, which impacted our top line by 2 billion Kenya shilling. And on an annualized basis, that's about 3 billion. So the top line made single-digit growth was still credible in the context of the market operating environment that we are operating in. The customers are asking for more values because they are under pressure in their wallet. The earnings are lower, and then we have to provide more value, which means that we are reducing our prices of offerings, so mobile data, that is voice. So we are doing that, and in the process, we are making sure that we retain our customers even in this difficult time. So last year was, I would say, a bit different from the other years. But with that mid-single-digit growth in top line, still delivered on underlying basis, adjusted with MTR and Ethiopia financing cost, we have delivered mid-single-digit profitability. And if you look at a long-term trend, yes, we have been growing more or less in that zone as far as profitability is concerned. So this year, at the Kenya core is delivering in a very difficult time with such high inflation, with cost increase. Energy cost has gone up significantly. You saw the removal of subsidy, you saw the removal of tariff, and all of that is actually impacting our finances. It's close to ₦1 billion extra cost that we have absorbed last year alone. So last year was different, we have quite a few regulatory headwinds, election transition, and we saw that business activity came down significantly. But the H2 for last financial year was much better. We had a top line growth, while full year growth was 5.7% adjusted with MTR. Second half growth was 6.5%. So it's beginning to give a confidence that as the macros improve, business sentiment improves, we will get back to top line growth better than what we have done last year.
The Finance Bill of 2023 has proposed amendments to the Income Tax Act to grant incentives on telecoms equipment as well as civil works. How do you assess this proposal? How do you intend to take advantage of it should it sail through?
Yeah, I think of the many other not so good changes in the finance bill, as you have seen, including the proposal to increase the tax from 12 to VAT from 12 to 15% on mobile operators doing the mobile financial services, which is not good for our customers. But this is probably one of the better ones that allows us to take the benefit of it. As you know, we have invested 40 billion Kenya shilling in last financial year on capex, and majority of these are equipments that we buy, and civil works is also part of that investment. So I think we're still analyzing how we can take the benefit of it. It will be beneficial for us if finally this thing sails through in the finance bill approved.